Well, we finally done it. We're there. The finish line for the 2024-2025 campaign. This is Pinnacle FC, the final episode of this season, episode 45, presented by Pinnacle. Gareth Wheeler, Jake Osgathorpe with you. Don't worry, we're not completely finished. The campaign is in the rearview mirror, but we're going to be looking ahead to the Club World Cup. We'll have betting previews and content for you surrounding that tournament. Then before you know it, we'll be back for a brand new season. We want to thank all of you, the listeners and viewers out there. I feel like we've been doing this for a couple years now, but I kind of feel like we're still just scratching the surface. We thank you for watching, engaging, and listening to us on a week-to-week basis. It's a lot of fun to do, and we hope that you've picked up some information that you've used to find some winners along the way. Jake, any parting thoughts before we dig into what this episode is going to be all about, by the way, is the Champions League final, PSG and Inter. And right at the very end, we'll share a quick thought on the Conference League final, as well as it's going to be a quick turnaround for when this podcast is published to when we get into the Conference League. But any thoughts on the season that was? It's been a ton of fun, at least for you and I, to get together every week and just break down the biggest games of the week.
Yeah, no, it's been a hell of a lot of fun. It's not been kind for me from a punting perspective in terms of top three. But I think overall, if we'd have backed every play that I put up, it would be probably breaking about even. But that's betting. You know, you have the ups and downs. And I'm sure next season we'll be back in the green. But, I mean, do we really care about betting or do we care about head-to-heads? That's the question.
That's the thing. Add it in the comments section. Because this was a new element that we added to the podcast this year. Our podium plays, our favorite or biggest three plays of each and every week. It's worked out for me, not for you. Jake has smashed me on head-to-heads. But if there's anything else that you want to see or you want to hear on a regular basis, then let us know. We're open to evolving and adding and even subtracting, as long as that doesn't include Jake or I. That's kind of the grounds for that. But it's been a lot of fun. And like I said, we'll be back in no time with the Club World Cup. Shall we dig into the Champions League final? Because it should be an absolutely cracking final. And just looking at things, it's the world's biggest club competition. It's about to play out on Saturday at Allianz Arena in Germany as PSG take on Inter Milan. It's the 70th campaign of this European competition. And 10 years on from winning the competition as Barcelona boss, Luis Enrique finds himself with a chance. And it would have kind of been an underdog story the way it's been presented. The first year without Mbappe, PSG have gone the long way or the hard way in getting to this point, finishing 15th in the league phase of this competition, having to get through the likes of Man City, Liverpool, and Arsenal along the way, and their favorites heading in to this European Cup final. Inzaghi's Inter Milan looked like they were in line for pushing towards a potential treble. Their Coppa Italia Scudetto dreams came crashing to an end, but they beat Barcelona in one of the best semi-final ties that you'll ever see in any competition, 7-6 in extra time. And this is a side that's looking to exact a little bit of revenge after losing the 2023 final in Istanbul 1-0 to Man City. But Bastoni, Acerbi, Darmian, DeMarco, Chanahoglu, Barella, Dumfries, Lautaro all started that game, all back with this Inter Milan side. PSG in very good form. They've won 4 in a row coming in. They played to the over in 5 of 5 as well. And Inter, they haven't lost in their last 6, and they've been the first to score in 6 of 6. Both sides are, at least on paper, completely fit, completely healthy coming into this game. There are some questions about what kind of role a Pavard or Zielinski or Lautaro Martinez, more importantly, whether they're actually 100% fit for Inter coming into this one. Also, interestingly, heading into this as well, it's the first time these sides have ever played a competitive fixture against one another. If we're going to look at the markets on Pinnacle, it is PSG who are the favorites heading into this one. You can get them in on the money line where the draw is in play at plus 122, plus 239 for the draw, plus 247 if you want to back Inter. Jake, I'll turn to you as I always do first. What are you thinking heading into this game? What are the betting markets telling you? And are you picking a side?
I'm not picking a side. No, I don't. I think it's going to be a tight game. It's going to be. I think these are two very, very good teams. And yeah, I think probably because I've got skin in the game, because we backed into plus 1,000 or plus 1,100, maybe plus 900. I can't remember. In that range, we backed them to win it before the last 16. So obviously, I've got quite a bit of on Inter already. So I'm tempted to hedge my bets, but I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to chicken out. I'm going to ride with Inter because I do think that they are defensively very well set up to frustrate PSG. I think PSG they struggled against some of the better defensive teams. I know against Arsenal they were good, but in that first leg for the first hour they didn't really create much. And then obviously Arsenal came onto them a bit, opened up. Against Liverpool, the first leg was just an absolute annihilation. Somehow lost 1-0, but the second leg was a little bit tougher for them. I do think Inter will play a lot more defensive than what we saw against Barca, because I think they'll realise that PSG are just a better team than Barcelona in the sense of they actually can control the game a bit better. Barcelona is just a chaotic basketball team that operate on a football pitch, whereas and Inter kind of just went with that because they felt that they could match them. And I don't think they'll do that here. And I think the reason I'm quite confident about backing Inter is if you think back a couple of years when they got to the final against Manchester City, the team who were by far the best team in Europe at that point. That final, Inter were the better team. They had a really good game plan. And I think that Inzaghi is probably an underrated coach when it comes to these kind of contests, of putting a game plan together to give his team the best chance of winning. Now, on that occasion, obviously, there was a couple of misses. There was a couple of saves. I think it was Lukaku had the big chance that missed in that final. And it could have all been so different. They created by far and away the most XG in that game. I think it was 2.1 to 1.2 or something like that. I think they've got that kind of performance in them again here. So if anybody is not yet on anything outright, I definitely would be leaning towards Inter because I think they're a really awkward opponent for PSG. Having said that, my best bet here is just opposing goals. Like we're having a chat, we've got a group chat with some of the lads, and literally we were just trying to think, like, when was the last good final that anybody watched in terms of like quite high scoring, enthralling final? It was the World Cup, right? 2022. So it's what, 2.5 years ago, 3-3 between Argentina and France. But every final since has just felt like it's almost been fear. There's been a lot of fear on the pitch of not wanting to make a mistake, and obviously that means you don't get the exciting, expansive football because players play within themselves a little bit. And if you look at the Champions League as a trend, so the last 6 finals, all 6 have gone under 2.5 goals. 4 of the last 6 have gone under 1.5 goals. And the goal per game averages of 1.33 over the last 6. So basically, if you score first, you win in the game. And both teams who scored no has landed in all of those as well. The 8 finals prior, all 8, both teams to score 6 of 8 over 2.5, 5 of 8 over 3.5, and the goal average at 3.5. So something's happened in that period, that whether it's a mentality shift or whether it's just to do with the teams that are actually reaching the final, that everything's just become extremely low margin. And it's been a very, very difficult watch for spectators. In fact, the last good final was Real Madrid beating Liverpool 3-1 with Bale's overhead kick. And that was a really good, entertaining final. Obviously, it will always be remembered for Ramos yanking Mo Salah's arm off. But other than that, it was quite an entertaining final. So I just think we've got to follow that trend. We've got to take the unders. Got to back both teams to score now at -1 away. Because I do feel as though whoever scores first is going to win the game. I don't think that either team is like. Can you just imagine Inter going in front? They're going to sit deep. They're going to be hard to beat. And I think PSG will find it difficult to break them down, just like most teams have this season. You're talking Arsenal, Manchester City have been kept out by Inter. I know Barcelona scored a hatful, but that's just how they play. They take those risks. I don't know if PSG will be willing to. And then both teams to score no, yeah, it's the same. I think if PSG score first, I find it difficult to see Inter being able to break them down because they'll have to press higher and ultimately will cede more chances. So I'm just opposing goals. I know it's boring, but we've seen it already over here. We've had the FA Cup final, 1-0, Europa League final, 1-0, playoff finals, 1-0, 1-0. All right, there was a 2-1 in there, but that was going unders to the last kick. So I just think we've got to follow that trend. And if you look at the last 3 seasons across all European competitions, so Conference League, Europa League, you've had an under 2.5 winner in 7 of the last 9 European finals. So I'll more than happily take the -108.
To your point, the last six Champions League finals have played a winner to nil.
Yeah.
So that's played out. But remember, Borussia Dortmund had a couple of those chances against Real Madrid last season. And to answer your question, what happened, I think a lot of it's been matchup based. And what we haven't seen this year in the Champions League as tight, cagey, low scoring fixtures. We just haven't.
No, we've seen quite a few. We've seen a few. Like PSG had 2 1-0s against Liverpool. They had a 1-0 against Arsenal.
But what were the XG in that game? And the way, if you actually watch the games and the way they played out, PSG's been a bang-on over team throughout this tournament. I'm going to oppose that because before the last 6 Champions League finals, there was a stretch of 8 where both teams to score played, and the majority of those went to the over as well. I look at Inter being very fortunate. I don't think they've been anywhere near good enough defensively this season. I don't think that the typical traditional Inter defensive mentality is what's got them to this point. It was being able to take a little bit more risk, taking advantage of Denzel Dumfries playing very high and an informed Turan and Lautaro Martinez being advantageous. I know that they've had other players like Fortezi who've stepped up and played big goals, but I think it's come from playing with an element of risk. I think that they benefited greatly from the fact that Barcelona, without their first choice right and left back over the course of that final game. And if Lamine Yamal had taken the ball to the corner instead of going off the post into stoppage time, we could be speaking about a much different story where I think that people would have been bang on with the overs in this game.
The line would probably be set at 4 for that time, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Rather than 2.5. 2.5 is low for me, but I'm gonna build on that play. PSG are an over team. They've scored 33 goals in 16 games in this competition and 32.5 expected goals over this tournament. Even in terms of expected goal differential, they played 2 more games than Inter, but their expected goal differential per 90 minutes is plus 0.93. They've been excellent. Whether it's Dembele, Doué, Barcola, Kvaradona, like they have players that they can throw at you who are completely difference makers. And I think they're going to give Inter a team that plays well within their structural, but I think that their back 3 are just limited in terms of the legs that they have. Also, interestingly, Inzaghi on the weekend against Como completely rotated his side. He actually saw the writing on the wall. Napoli were never going to lose on Friday, and that rotating his side was a better decision for him. I just don't think that Martinez and Thuram, I don't think any of these players are anywhere near 100%. I don't think that works against PSG, the most balanced team in this competition for me. I love how they push Hakimi high. I think it'll be a very tactical game. And whether Inter can find the right balance to play against a team that's going to attack you in a lot of different ways, has a very underrated midfield in Neves and Ruiz and Vitinha. I think that there's a good balance of technical acumen as well as combative players in those positions. I think PSG are rightfully the favorites in this one. I think we can see a final where both teams score as well, because I think that that's Inter's strength. I think that they're just a handful the way that they push Dumfries forward in attack. I like both teams to score, yes, and a PSG win in 90 minutes at plus 367. Plays like this have worked well for me over the course of the season. I would also back PSG over 1.5 goals at plus 120 as well in this game. Because if they score 1, I think they can get 2 as well. Also, Inzaghi, I'm with you. I think he's a very good manager. He's never won anything as a player or a manager of this magnitude in terms of European competition. Luis Enrique has. I think it's apropos for where football's going. The year that PSG say goodbye to Kylian Mbappe, they go out and win it with a much more balanced team. And that's what they have. I think they're the better side. I think they're the more balanced side. I'll back PSG to win this one. And both teams to score, yes, at plus 367. That will be my play. Anything to add or counterpunch to what I offered here?
Not really. No, you make good points about PSG. I mean, my favourite stat is that PSG have won more games against English teams this season than Ipswich and Southampton. which I just thought I had to drop that in there because it's very quirky. Yeah, I think if you play this game in the league phase, I think PSG would win it quite comfortably. I just think the finals are just different. Like, how many times do you see the better team lose when it comes to one-off games, because things can happen, strange moments, refereeing decisions, rush of blood, anything can happen in these one-off games that does cost you. Obviously, two legs is slightly different. You can make up for it a bit. They're very difficult to call finals, especially. I mean, we've seen it up and down. We've obviously just covered playoff weekend over here, and we've only seen one of the favourites actually progress in those finals, and it just comes down to those. It's just the freak occurrences. It might just be one player scores a worldie and then they shut up shop and the other team just can't break them down because they lose all sorts of. Well, there's mass panic because it's almost like, right, the season's on the line. We've got 20 minutes, and you just lose your heads a little bit. So, yeah, they're difficult to call. My instinct is always just back the under when it comes to finals, because everyone just wants to reduce the level of risk. Nobody wants to be the player that lost their team the game by making a silly mistake, which we've seen up and down the season in terms of like league games. We've seen it for years now when it comes to big games. Everyone just tightens up a little bit. No one wants to take too many risks and push the tempo too high. So yeah, if you want to make it head to head, over under, I'm more than happy to give you
let's make it head to head. I can't bet on this game based upon that context. I need to bet it on what I've been seeing from these sides. Inter and Arsenal were a very similar story through the league phase of this competition. Just didn't give up any chances. Not to mention goals, like the expected goals against, it was minuscule. But Inter have given up a lot of chances. The Bayern Munich side that they played, by the way, was nowhere near full strength. It was after they succumbed. They had multiple players just completely wiped out due to injury. Same thing with Barcelona. I think the context matters here. There's not one position on the field where I take Inter in any position over what PSG has on the offer. I just wouldn't. Kvaratskhelia has like changed the way that this PSG attacked midway through the season, where it's a decision. Who do you play? Doué or Barcola coming in? Not both. It's just there's an embarrassment of riches here. They have a goalkeeper in Donnarumma who's won it internationally. At the club level, he's been excellent. I think he's a difference maker as well. I have no problem backing PSG on the outright, but
there's plenty of them on both sides, though. They've been there and done that.
I get, like, as much as I like a Barella, I absolutely rate the player. Mkhitaryan still play, like, he relies on Mkhitaryan so heavy. I'm questioning whether Lautaro is anywhere near 100%.
I should hope he is. He's had a long rest now.
He has, but
not that matters.
I need to see it. Like, PSG played in a cup final, in the French Cup final last weekend, and went on and won it, going away 3-0.
Yeah, but who are they playing, Gareth? They played Rams, who finished third bottom of the league.
I understand, but like,
this is a step up.
Inter, last time they played their main players, it was 2 weeks ago, and they finished in a 2-2 against Lazio in a game that they had to win. Like, Inter had to win that game. I looked at Inter this season as being a case is that they've been good enough, but I don't think they've been great. It's been a season of good enough, and they haven't won the Scudetto in a real down year. Opportunity was right there for them. Napoli gifted it to them, and they rejected it. So going into a cup final like this, I'll back the side that I think is more reliable. They made Arsenal look like second rate, and Arsenal's a very good team. Liverpool, they went toe-to-toe. I rate Liverpool as the best team in European football this season. And they went and beat them, and we're the better side. I don't even know if there's much argument there. So, yeah, I'm going to back PSG. And both teams to score, by the way, plus 367. All right, just a quick reminder, please like and subscribe to this podcast. We very much appreciate it. Before we go, a quick thought on the Conference League is Real Betis against Chelsea. Betis is a side where both teams to score has been a regular play. The over has been a play. Betis, they haven't won a game in 5, but no clean sheet in 11, over in 7 of 9. Both teams to score in 10-10. Against Chelsea, we know they're already Champions League bound under Maresca, but they're an underside. I mean, they've been unders for, and we've documented on this podcast for quite some time. The total set at 2.5. Do you want to pick a side? Are you looking at the total? How are you looking at this game?
I'm just going to be boring here, rinse and repeat. All the finals recently have been really low scoring.
I do agree with you. I like the under. I like under 2.5 at -104 here.
We've got to back the under. Chelsea are involved. They have shown over the course of the last 6 months that they are very, very good defensively when they want to be. They still lack a little bit of cutting edge in attack. They want to dominate possession, slow the game down, etc. And that'll be even more the case when it comes to final. I think we'll see a similar kind of performance to what we saw at the weekend against Forest, which was just get the job done. Stay solid. If you don't concede, you're not going to lose in normal time. I actually think they're probably going to score at least once. I think if you can back it anywhere, back Chelsea to win 1-0 as a correct score. If you can't, back Chelsea to win in under 2.5 goals at 351 plus 351, or just back the under if you want a bigger stake on a smaller price. Because I do think I'd be shocked if this one gets out of hand.
Okay, very, very similar viewpoint for me. Look, Betis has done very well. Antony has done very well. Cucho Hernandez has done very well. But the physicality that Chelsea brings to the table, this is where I question whether these players can handle it. Isco, I think that Chelsea will be content playing within the Maresca ball. It'll be Maresca ball in the final,
I think,
which screams under to me.
I know we can't draw too many conclusions, but if you look at how English teams have fared against Spanish teams so far this season, it's been very one-sided. We saw Arsenal dominate Real Madrid. We saw Man United dominate Bilbao. Am I missing anybody else that was involved? I think Barca played anyone. But those two just stick in my mind of being like, right, the English teams look a lot more physical and a lot more, just better, if that makes sense. Yeah. And I think especially when you get to those, when not the upper class, like obviously Madrid are a bit behind Barca. It might have been different if Barca would have played Arsenal, but I think Betis versus Chelsea, you might see a similar gulf in class between. You should do really. I mean, Chelsea's squad's worth about £2 billion, so what we do, it should be very comfortable for Chelsea and win this third-rate competition.
Okay, I won't back Chelsea, but I'll back the under. How's that? So there you go. Some agreement on this podcast. A good way to go out. Jake, thanks for all your hard work. Great stuff as always, and enjoy the Champions League final.
Likewise, I'll be cheering on that 0-0, and I'll send you a message when it lands.
When PSG win 3-1, you can thank me later. Well, not you, but everyone else listening to this podcast. Once again, thanks for tuning in to Pinnacle FC all season long. And we'll be back in a couple weeks for the Club World Cup. He's Jake, I'm Wheels, and this has been episode 45 of Pinnacle FC.